Welcome. I am so thrilled to have you here today because we're taking a deep dive into one of the most atmospheric, dense, and frankly mysterious environments in all of North America. We are heading way out into the Nahmint Valley on Vancouver Island. In this explainer, we'll be breaking down a source that documents a solo, overnight expedition straight into this incredibly rugged terrain. We'll explore the very real predators stalking these woods, some absolutely chilling local anomalies that just defy explanation, and, the profound psychological toll of total wilderness isolation.
To really wrap our heads around why this forest commands so much respect, we kind of have to start with a story. Imagine you're sleeping in the back of your car, just waiting to hunt elk at first light. You open your eyes in the pitch black, and this is what you see. A massive figure looking down at you through the window, its hands pressed against the glass on either side of its face. The local First Nations hunter recounting this, he didn't even stop to put his shoes on. He literally burst out of his car with his rifle, but the creature had completely vanished without a sound, no trace. It's the ultimate campfire story, right? But for this hunter, it was a terrifying reality that changed his life forever.
Section 1. Return to Vancouver Island.
So the creator of our source material just couldn't shake the magnetic pull of this island. He returned to the Nahmint Valley, guided by a man named Cam. And Cam is actually the very same First Nations hunter who had that horrifying window encounter. But first, let's contextualize this environment. When we think of impenetrable wilderness, we usually picture the Amazon rainforest. But the temperate rainforests of Vancouver Island, they totally rival the Amazon in sheer density. The big difference is that Vancouver Island is colder, much darker, and completely choked with massive, ancient, old-growth trees. The creator actually notes that in many places, you literally cannot see past the very first row of trees. It is a sheer, impenetrable wall of green.
Section 2. An impenetrable, temperate rainforest. Okay, to understand just how hostile this landscape can be, look at its history. Back in the early 1900s, this coastline was essentially a graveyard for shipwrecks. Sailors who actually managed to survive the crash and swim to the beach, they were completely stranded. The forest was simply impossible to walk through. It was so bad that the government had to literally carve a life-saving rescue trail through the brush just to retrieve the survivors. Today, that route is the famous West Coast Trail, and it still requires over 100 ladders and cable cars just to get across. Taking a single step off the trail is pretty much impossible.
But the terrain is only half the battle. The crucial takeaway here is this. Vancouver Island has the highest density of mountain lions anywhere in the world. We're talking about a highly lethal, completely silent apex predator that you will almost never see even if it is staring right at you. So when you're alone in the dark out there, the psychological fear you feel is grounded in a very real, very present biological threat.
And to highlight just how close that threat gets, check out this detail. After Cam dropped the creator off at his super isolated campsite, he drove down the road and spotted 4 mountain lions just standing right in the middle of the logging road. They were literally just 2 kilometers away. Cam actually tried to drive back to warn him, but the creator was already wandering off into the thick, freezing fog alone on a night hike, completely unaware of what was circling his camp. Crazy, right?
Section 3. Cam's terrifying encounters.
All right, shifting gears from the predators we know about, let's talk about the unexplained anomalies that the locals report. Because when tracking these things, hunters aren't just scanning the woods for giant figures, they're actively looking for physical signs. Our source highlights a few key ones. Clean tree snaps that always seem to face the logging roads. Game cameras that haven't just fallen but have been violently torn off by the strap. Massive unseen things splashing around behind remote settlements. And perhaps most strikingly, huge human-like footprints found pressed deep into shallow lake beds.
And these tracks and signs eventually culminate in direct sightings. Take Cam's second unexplainable encounter, for example. He was just out on a game trail in broad daylight, dropped his pack to pick some mushrooms, and suddenly felt a presence. He looked up, and just 30 yards uphill was this huge, tall, dark figure staring right at him. They locked eyes for a few seconds before the figure simply sidestepped behind a boulder. When Cam finally gathered the courage to go check behind the rock, there was absolutely nothing there. No sound, no broken twigs, no trace, it just vanished.
Now, the creator points out a seriously eerie coincidence about Cam's experiences. His first encounter, the terrifying one at the car window, happened on his birthday. Years later, that daylight encounter on the game trail, it happened on the exact same day of the year, his birthday again. Make of that what you will, but it for sure adds a heavy layer of deep, unsettling mystery to these woods.
Section 4. The psychology of the dark.
When you're completely isolated in a pitch-black wilderness, auditory deception plays a massive role.
You might hear the spine-chilling, totally unnatural scream of a mountain lion, which, honestly, sounds almost human. It is incredibly easy to misinterpret that as something paranormal. But the source also notes there are these muffled, unexplained howls that seasoned outdoorsmen say sound completely distinct from the local elk bugles or wolf packs. Sorting out what's real from what's just your imagination becomes almost impossible in the dark.
The creator sums up this psychological tightrope perfectly with this thought. You can be hiking through the woods, feeling perfectly fine, and then, in a split second, the hair on the back of your neck just stands straight up. Your entire body tightens. Is it just fear and imagination? Or is it that primal, sixth sense hunter-gatherer instinct kicking in, trying to warn you of an apex predator, or maybe something else entirely hidden right there in the trees?
Section 5. The meaning of Sasquatch. So what does this all actually mean? To the local First Nations, the Sasquatch isn't just some monster to be hunted or feared. It's deeply, deeply embedded in their culture as a forest guardian. It acts as a symbol and a protector of the wilderness. The core belief here is that humans are meant to exist alongside it, totally integrated with nature, rather than just showing up to disturb or exploit it.
And that leads to a really profound realization the creator had during his solitary campfire vigil. He points out that out there in the pitch black, you aren't really just searching for a cryptid, you're actually searching for a long-lost connection to the wild. The legend of the Sasquatch basically serves as a bridge back to our own ancient ancestry. It's a reminder of a time when we were a fundamental part of the natural world, rather than just observers separated from it by our car windows and modern society.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly thought-provoking question to ponder as we wrap up today's explainer. When we step into these ancient, towering forests and hear absolutely nothing but silence, are we truly alone? Or, as the source suggests, have we just become too loud, too busy, and too frantic to lower our own volume long enough to actually hear what the wilderness is trying to tell us? I really hope this explainer sparked your curiosity today, and I highly encourage you to reflect on your own connection with the wild. Thanks so much for joining me.